when you both first met, what stage in your vision were you?
I was riding dirt bikes, driving jet boats, racing off-road cars. Not doing anything really lackluster at all. Having a lot of fun.
I don't think he can tell you like the stage because he never really knew that that's what was happening at the time. I think he just thought he had really bad vision, and I remember when we started dating, he's like, I just need to get LASIK and it'll be fixed. That's what I always thought.
My ignorance was bliss.
Yeah, it totally was. And but I noticed things when I was dating him, like the first time ever for his birthday party, he always goes to the desert. And they have cars and razors, and all his friends have toys to play with out there. I never went to the desert. I never went camping in my life. So it was like all a new experience. And I got there at night, and everybody's driving, and he's like, I can't drive at night. And I thought that was weird. I was like, well, why? And he's like, I've been drinking and I don't feel comfortable with it. And I don't want to do that to you. I want to be safe. And then he did actually end up taking me for a little ride with his friends, not by ourselves. But just like things like that. And then I would realize like we went, one of our dates, we went to Not Scary Farm. Like it was Halloween time. So it was like at night, and you go in
it's like one of those horror, like, a haunted hotel.
Natalie would never go on those.
Yeah. I thought it was so fun. And so I wanted to go with him, and we went, and I remember him driving and getting kind of close to certain things. And I was just like, that's kind of weird. And then we would go like, a lot of our stuff was in the desert, and he'd be driving his razor, and he'd get really close to things. And I'm like, I've never been in a razor. I've never been in this stuff before. So I just thought maybe he's just crazy and he just likes to get really close to, I don't know. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm just like hoping I'm going to get out of it alive. Yeah, I noticed things as a person who can see good. But I just thought, like he said, he was just bad vision. I didn't know any idea that there was anything out there like RP or any of those things, because I've never met a blind person in my life, right?
Neither of us did at that time.
No. So like when we met, I would say, he could still drive at night, but I noticed, I don't think he noticed, but I noticed how he would get kind of close to people or certain things. And it really didn't change until we had our first daughter, and obviously we didn't get married before we had our first daughter. It's kind of...
We did a little backwards.
We kind of like just fell in love really fast, and things were just kind of chaotic with us, and it happened. And we just started to notice it more and more, and especially at night.
Yeah, at night it started to tank, and like I just couldn't see, right? And like I think as anyone with a degenerative disease, like you just find new ways. So I put brighter bulbs in the house. I'd go outside and put more lights in our backyard, or, you just find creative ways of like adapting to it. And at the time I had no idea that this was ever even a thing.
No.
And then it just turned a corner, I guess. And it turned a corner way before we got married. Like when we've had our first kid, she was a toddler. Remember that day when
he bumped into her in the kitchen.
Worst day ever.
And he bumped into her pretty hard, and she was little. And she like hit her head on the wall, and I was so upset because I never want anything to happen to my baby. That's my baby, right?
Yeah.
As a mom, you're just like, I just couldn't believe it. And at that point, like I felt things. Like there were certain times where he would do something, and I felt things in my heart, and I was like, what is this? This is different, right? And me being the person I am, I always would try to address issues instead of ignoring them, which Andy wasn't brought up that way. He just puts them away somewhere and keeps going. Yeah. And I'm like the one
classic
that's like,
man move.
Yeah, I'm like, we need to talk about this. Like, what's going on? Are you okay? This is different, And I think I'm the one that kind of encouraged him to go and get seen.
Yeah, you did.
Which in hindsight, you kind of feel bad because who knew that it was going to be
what
it
happened,
was.
whether we knew what it was or wasn't.
So we kind of just went into it not even knowing that this was going to be what it was. And we even got married, and I still didn't know really until... shortly after we got married.
Yeah, we got married in October of 2016, and we got diagnosed, I believe, in 2017.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning of in February.
Yeah.
Like the first part of February of 2017 is when we first like got the name and went to do all the testing and all that stuff, and we finally got the name, and that was a little bit of a shell shocker. And we went home and went to Dr. Google and found out what it actually was, because the doctors don't say anything. They're like, you're not going to see very well. Okay.
See ya.
What does that mean? But we still decided to have our second kid after that, and I stopped driving then.
You're going too far ahead. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So to answer your question, it's really kind of hard to tell you what that was, just because we didn't know. But we found out after we got married, and it was really hard. It was very, very hard.
Yeah, that's helpful because I like to, what I want to do is paint like a timeline, for everyone listening, because, your timeline you're further on the timeline than I am. So it's like, like for example, I bumped into my nieces and nephews when I go home and they're all there. I'll turn around, I'll literally like run them over. And they'll fall down, and one time they cried and I feel terrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really
they don't understand it either,
No,
Yeah.
nobody does.
But, Natalie, let's say I wasn't diagnosed, because I was diagnosed when I was young just because my mom had RP,
Yeah.
Let's say I wasn't diagnosed. Would you know that I had something visually like going on?
You know what? I think it's going to be hard for me to separate me trying to think, me not knowing, to me knowing right now, because he does have so much, not so much, but he does have quite a bit of vision to where he does a lot of stuff by himself and he doesn't need me. So I notice things because I know, if that makes sense.
It does.
But some
Yeah,
of the
definitely
things he
does.
does is so small, because to be honest, me and myself, I'm so clumsy and I miss things myself. So it's really bad. He thinks, he jokes thinking that I think I might have it because I don't see half the stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, you have
Yeah,
RP?
you have it. I was like, because I'm like, I didn't see it. But I honestly, I don't want to answer it in a way thinking, yes, I probably would have noticed, just because there's so many times where I'm like, oh, by the way, this is there. And he goes, I see it, to me. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then if I don't point something out, he's like,
There's
why
a
didn't you
broken
tell
wine
me?
glass somewhere.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
So I don't know, say I'm thinking of beginning when we were dating, before he told me, I didn't notice a thing.
Well, you also,
I didn't notice anything.
It's also like to Andy's point, you get good at working around it.
Yes.
I would pick certain places
my
to go
life,
on
yeah.
dates and everything, so yeah. And if you're having something to drink, like most of our first dates involved alcohol, you can kind of, I bumped into you, it's a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
so
Bro,
there's,
that was my excuse for
That was his MO.
5 years. Like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
I can't do that tonight. Too tipsy, had one too many or whatever, and then that was kind of how I got out of everything at night.
yeah, it's a good one, honestly.
It worked good. It worked good.
Yeah. But, so Natalie will get frustrated with me sometimes because I'll get frustrated because I'll trip over something and I'll be like, why didn't you point that out? And then the times where she does point it out, I'll see it sometimes. I'll be like, I see it. And then I get frustrated because I'm like, I see it. And I know that's not fair. I know that doesn't make me sound good. But
I've been there.
I think for
fine.
me,
You're fine.
it's just a case of, at what point do you not see it anymore? That's what I don't know. And he can't exactly tell me, because he can't show me. And then,
You'll
like,
learn.
what point is it too late for me to warn you? You know what I mean? Or sometimes
Yeah.
I might do it too soon, 'cause it might be further back, so it's in
I'm
his
letting
view.
you talk on this one because
So it's-
this is all your life, girl.
I don't think that will ever get easier.
Okay.
Sorry. It's just kind of like one of those things where it's either they literally don't see it or they do see it, and then or it's an acceptance thing. As a man, especially, they don't want this happening to them, right? As a man, like, it's your pride, it's a lot of things, right? Like, I'm not a man, but I can only imagine. And, they want to try to do as much as they can for as long as they can. And I think I remember that with Andy, like, there was times where I was like you, I don't know when to say or not to say. And like,
Yeah.
I kind of was more quiet about it because that's just how I am. I would just kind of let him figure it out. And then there was times where like, I knew I could say something right before something happened. Just like, stop, but not always. And he had to break things and you feel terrible. You feel like it's your fault because you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the hard part about being a spouse of somebody who's going through this. It's like, you kind of have to learn and he's different than Andy, right? So like, you know him better than anyone else, and you're going to keep learning about him and the situation as you guys, grow in this and everything. And I think it's just part of that. It's part of the adjustment. And the thing about it is you never know when it's going to change. There's no like timeline that you can go off of on some medical website that tells you this is when it's going to happen, because everybody's different with RP, like everyone. So all I can say is just like, don't be so hard on yourself. And if he gets upset at you, like, don't take it personal. I've had to tell myself that so many times.
Yeah.
Compassion is like the biggest, compassion and empathy, constantly putting myself in his shoes, constantly thinking about what he's going through and how he's getting through his day and all these things. And it's really hard because like I'm not like the most selfish person. I think about others a lot. But we're all human beings, right? At a certain point, you're like, you kind of get sick of like, oh, I always have to think about him. What about me? But most of the time, that's what it is. It's like, it's a selfless thing. It's a lot about compassion and empathy and understanding and forgiveness on both ends, because at the end of the day, you love each other and you want to be together no matter what. And that's marriage. Like,
and I'll piggyback on this and say, yeah, like part of that too is Lance communicating with you. It's a two-way street. Like the reality is, just like our marriage became a part of our family and our marriage is a priority for us, this becomes a part of the relationship, and like everything you choose to go do, whether it be going to California or a vacation or even just an overnight stay, it's like, it's different no matter what. It will be different. It might already be getting different for you now. Like it might already, you might have that second guess of like, I'd rather just stay in tonight, or whatever. Let's go to the same restaurant because I know where the bathroom is, right? Whatever it might be. It's all about that communication, and I didn't know that for a while in the beginning. I was angry about it. And
And
it took a long time for me to be able to say like, hey, we got to get rid of all of your wine glasses and go plastic, because I had broken like 18 of them.
I've broken so many glasses. I've broken so many to where now I like, we had plastic ones for a while, and I like the ones that don't break. And my old roommates before we met used to always make fun of me because I broke like 12 or so glasses in a year. And but it changes everything. It changes every aspect. Every little thing I notice, I operate differently, and I think about just how completing things it just changes the way you do everything. And the fact, if she's going to be involved in what I'm doing, then it's going to change what she's doing.
Oh, yeah.